Hello everyone, Roland Kim here with your February 2026 Greater Vancouver Real Estate Market Update. Today I'm walking you through the latest stats from the Vancouver Real Estate Board for January 2026 and comparing them to both month over month and year over year. So no guesswork, just verifiable data to show us what's happening in the spring market. In January 2026, the Vancouver real estate market remains soft relative to prior years, with sales lower, inventory elevated, and prices showing modest declines. This start of the year is much the same as it was in 2025, or how 2025 ended. Slow activity, meaning more supply than we've seen in recent cycles. So let's break it down. Residential sales in January were well below our year ago levels. Detached homes saw 300 sales, which is down 21.1% compared to January 2025. Apartments saw 554 sales, down 34.5% year over year. And townhomes saw 246 sales, down 23.4% versus year over year. So overall, activity remains muted. That's not to say the spring market is not going to happen, but rather the cool, quieter start many markets experienced in the past is what we're seeing right now. And prices are showing a gentle downward trend, both month over month and year over year. Benchmark prices. The composite benchmark price for January was $1,101,900. That's a 5.7% lower year over year versus January 2025. A 1.2% lower month over month compared to December 2025. With detached homes, the benchmark price was $1,850,800, which is a 7.3% lower than year over year and a 1.5% lower versus month over month. Apartment homes has a benchmark price of $704,600, which is a 5.9% lower year over year and a 1% lower month over month. Townhomes saw a benchmark price of $1,043,400, which is 5.4% lower year over year and 1.2% lower month over month. So across the board, prices are slightly softer than they were a year ago and mildly lower than they were just a month ago at the end of 2025. An important note, these moves are not dramatic crashes. They're measured declines reflecting in seasonality patterns and in the trend that we've had for the last 2-3 years, where we've been trending slowly sideways and downwards until we find our base. One of the biggest stories right now is supply. Active listings in Metro Vancouver at the end of January 2026 were around 12,628, which is roughly 10% higher year over year and well above long-term seasonal averages. New listings in January were slightly lower compared to January 2025, but overall inventory levels remain elevated relative to our historic norms. In simple terms, there are way more properties right now for buyers to choose from than we typically see at this time of year. We gauge market tightness using the sales to active ratio called sales to active listings ratio. In Metro Vancouver, January 2026 ratio sat around 9% overall, with similar levels across detached, attached, and apartment segments. And keep it for context that less than 12% typically signals a buyer-favored market, 12 to 20% suggests a balanced condition, and 20% or above indicates a seller's market. So right now we are clearly identified in a buyer's market, especially outside the very strongest micro pockets. January is, though, historically one of the quietest months of the year, but there are some key patterns worth highlighting. Sales are slower than last year and well below historical peaks. Supply is higher than average, in some categories much higher, giving buyers more choice, but prices are relatively stable, softening a bit, but definitely not collapsing. This kind of backdrop often sets up for a measured spring market where well-priced homes still sell quickly and overpriced listings stagnate into the summer and fall. Buyers aren't disappearing, but they're choosing more carefully and they're coming into the market more slowly. For buyers right now, you have more options than you did a year ago. You have less competition, and early in the year you can create negotiation leverage. You still need to have strong financing, have clear priorities, and quick action when the right home comes. This is not a market to wait and hope. This is a market to prepare and act when the right opportunity appears. And for sellers, homes priced accurately and presented well are still attracting buyers. Overpriced homes without a pricing strategy are less effective and are just sitting on the market. Matching market expectations and not your wish list is how you're going to get your home sold if you're a seller. Sellers with realistic pricing and strong staging can still benefit from an early momentum, as the transition into spring is surely going to happen as it warms up. The market, again, is not collapsing and it's not overheating either. It's balanced with a solid buyer's trend. And as we move into the spring, the interplay of pricing, inventory, and buyer confidence will determine how the season continues into the summer. If I can be of any assistance, your Vancouver realtor, please reach out to me, Roland Kim, and thank you for watching.